At ZocDoc, we know being a healthy adult is like living in a video game. Every day has side quests, taxes, laundry, birthdays, and just when you're leveling up, you have to book a doctor. The insurance portal crashes, they put you on hold, your doctor doesn't take your plan, game over. We see you, so we made booking a doctor easy. Download ZocDoc, search by specialty, insurance, and availability. Book instantly, no cheat codes required. Find a doctor you love with ZocDoc.
Introducing Fidelity Trader Plus. With customizable tools and charts you can access across all your devices. Try our most powerful trading platform yet at fidelity.com/trader plus. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE, SIPC.
Welcome to Diz and Hers, the show about what's happening in the Disney community from his, hers, and your perspective. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Eric, and on today's show, the Grand Floridian gingerbread house is officially gone, and we think the real reason has nothing to do with the gingerbread. Plus, a deluxe Disney resort lost air conditioning during one of the hottest weeks of the year, and the internet is divided over whether Disney handled it the right way.
But before we get started, we want to remind you that Diz and Hers can be found on all your favorite podcast platforms and also in video format on YouTube and Spotify. We'd love it if you could head over, leave us a quick rating or review, and let us know what you want to hear us talk about on an upcoming episode.
Right. But this episode, we are talking about that Grand Floridian gingerbread house that is not returning for the 2026 holiday season. This has got a lot of people talking, a lot of people a little upset. Maybe some people are happy about it. There's lots. But let's first talk about what this gingerbread house is, Lauren. For those that are not aware, what is this gingerbread house and where is it and why does it exist?
Well, it began back in 1999, and it kind of it's become over the years one of the biggest holiday traditions at Walt Disney World. And then this year, it's supposed to be replaced with smaller gingerbread situations throughout the resort. But what I don't think that people fully grasp is how big of a deal this was. The Disney community just had a series of blows. I mean, everybody was talking about the new bus regulations at Disney Springs. And then right after, we hear that the gingerbread house was not returning at the Grand Floridian. And people really made this a part of their experience at the parks. You know, you'd ride the monorail to see it, you'd get a piece of gingerbread, and like you were, so I think you said that it actually, this isn't the first year that it's not going to be there, right?
Well, last year it was down because the Grand Floridian was working on a bar, right? Some type of birdcage bar.
Yeah.
I haven't necessarily seen that yet or paid too much attention, but there was a bar. So they had an excuse why it wasn't there last year, right? But it's been there the 25 years beforehand. And it's funny because there's a documentary, I think it's like Disney Holiday or something. No, it's Disney Plus. And like Whoopi Goldberg shows you the entire process of how they make it. And it's a giant gingerbread house and they sell gingerbread and so forth. So it seems like it was a money-making venture, but that's why it's kind of confusing to the community because Disney doesn't take away things that make them money. So there obviously has to be other reasons or it has to be costing them money. And that's kind of where it gets very interesting online. So in the long run, I think today's episode, we went over to Facebook and DVC Fan, which is a nice Facebook forum, and they also have their own forums now on their website. But we found all types of information and people talking about this. Was a hot topic right off the get-go, right, Lauren?
Yeah, so Ryan Chung says, if you're disappointed with Disney retiring the Grand Floridian gingerbread house, you shouldn't buy anything anymore. Gingerbread, cookies, pins from any resort or holiday shop, especially the Grand Floridian. And I'm not planning to buy anything at any of those resorts this season. So obviously, starting off with a really hot take there. But on the other side of the coin, Eric Ness says that this might be an unpopular opinion, but as a Grand Floridian owner, personally, I would be happy to have the lobby back. which makes a whole lot of sense. And a lot of people were chiming in on this one. And we were at our youngest son's baseball game this week and kind of researching for the show. And one of the other parents, they're also DVC owners, and I was getting her opinion, and she said the very same thing, like that staying at the Grand Floridian during the holidays was less enjoyable because there were so many people there all the time. So I understand that side of things as well. And I mean, people then were left asking the question, is it possible that the gingerbread house could have just been put somewhere else so everybody could enjoy it? I mean, thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. So like we've gone there many times during the holidays and it never seemed unbearable, but I never looked at it from a Grand Floridian guest perspective because I imagine if you're
Yeah.
staying at a deluxe hotel and you're spending decent money here and you want to hop over to the lobby, the last thing you want to do is have tons and tons of people and it being super loud and always crowded. But we've always went to the Gasparilla, or even Grand Floridian Cafe, and it just doesn't seem like it was always overwhelmed. So maybe I'm going at the wrong time, or more importantly, we're not going down there with the madness of the holiday season. Like when we go down, it was November or December 1st, right after maybe Thanksgiving, where there's a little lull before. But maybe on December 20th, it's complete hell. And those that are staying there don't necessarily want to deal with that. And where there's traffic in the lobby, there's probably also traffic in the monorail, which means longer to get on and off. And just one of the reasons you're staying there is to have that convenience to being so close to the Magic Kingdom, right?
Yeah, and it gives back to guest satisfaction, like we were talking about with the buses. But looking at somebody who says that they're in this industry, this is Tim Comaromi. I hope I said your name right. But so he says, someone in the industry, I would imagine that the change has several factors. One being that the cost of the housing being built and labor required to manage the crowd, it's not offset enough by the revenue made by selling the gingerbread. Then they're also looking at the guests paying $1,200 a night who complain about overcrowding in the lobby and the stress that it puts on the building, the transportation system, etc. And, in the end, I mean, the craziness that it creates is not worth the revenue that's generated, which, makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know how much it cost to make that gingerbread house. I mean, they
Oh my
probably,
gosh.
there's
I mean, like, think about Whoopi, what she said. Didn't it take like months and months to put that thing
probably. It
together?
seems like it's a lot of work. I mean, and you're not paying a ticketed gate. You would have to sell a lot of gingerbread. And I'm not gonna lie, I
Yeah.
I probably would have tasted and be like, all right, let's try this. But the line was always long, and I'm like, I'm not gonna wait in line for this for something that I'm not. I don't know. Gingerbread doesn't necessarily like speak to me like maybe other people. I'm not eating too much gingerbread in general, whether it be good or bad. But they're going to make all these smaller ones now. So like, is that, is it kind of more like the Easter eggs that they do at the Grand Floridian? They're going to make a bunch of small detailed ones. You're still asking for people to come see that, right? But maybe not at that scale.
Yeah, I think Disney is like moving people around, and the bigger take on this that I'm thinking is that I don't think Disney got rid of the gingerbread house because they don't like the tradition and they just want to rip that away from people. I think they may have got rid of it because it was too successful. So if you think about it, like you mentioned was it called the Bird's Nest, the new bar in the lobby?
Yeah, there's a lobby bar.
Yeah, but you have to consider that. So that permanently changed the layout of the lobby where the gingerbread house was, right? And if this was extremely popular in a smaller space, could have, created a lot of huge bottlenecks, because we're talking about thousands of people that would come and see this gingerbread house. And I do think that Disney is been trying to increasingly been trying to make these deluxe resorts feel more exclusive for paying guests. So look at it this way, Eric. I mean, say you're spending $900 to $1,200 a night to stay there. Would you want hundreds or thousands of people walking through your lobby every hour on the hour, like, the majority of the day?
No, I mean, just I know that just going up and down the, elevator, they have one elevator, and if you had a stroller, how long you would have to wait in line just to get up
Oh my
there
gosh,
and
yes.
down, and that's how you get to the monorail. So imagine if you're if you're a guest and you're going down and you have a stroller, like it just is a giant mess, I'm sure. I'm always interested though about like the retail on the second floor, like how does that impact them? I mean, like obviously the cost of taking this away, Disney did their math and realized that like, all right, sorry, retail people, your numbers aren't going to be the same because like you took away a huge reason to go there during the holiday season. So that shop that might make extra money during the holiday seasons is going to be lower. So the expectations are going to be different. I'm sure they did a little bit of the math there. But at
Oh,
the
I
end of the
mean, this
day,
is Disney. They know exactly what they're doing. And where my brain went is like, look who's leading the Mouse House now. So, Josh Tomorrow, before he became the chairman of Disney Experiences, he spent years running the park. So, he's an operations, like, and logistics
yeah.
guy. So, when I'm looking at this decision, I'm wondering if this is just how Disney is thinking now. Maybe they aren't just looking at the gingerbread house and seeing it as a tradition. They're just looking at the numbers, they're looking at the crowd flow, they're looking at bottlenecks and the experience. And I think that it's just become Disney's mindset now. I think that they might be looking at it through an operational lens first. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. I mean, I don't think that necessarily they care so much about your traditions. They care if your traditions are so that you're going down there. I mean, they care that you're booking
Yeah.
trips for the holidays, but I don't necessarily think that they care that, hey, this picture or you get this picture in front of this tree every year, or that they're not worried about taking that tree down because you're going to be upset. There's been lots of circumstances where you can see that being the case, because if that was the case, then they would never close down any attraction because there are traditions that you go to this attraction, so forth. I mean, look at what happened with the Mark Twain and the Rivers of America and all this. I do think it's more logistics. It's a matter of how you can get more people in and out, better guest satisfaction. And in the long run, I do think that we're all upset about the Grand Floridian and there's people boycotting and this and that. It's not going to change a thing. I don't think they were that house probably wasn't
No.
making as much money, and there's not enough people that'll join the cause to make a big significant difference, right? Most people
Right.
most people you'd probably survey that are down there had no idea that the Grand Floridian had a gingerbread house because most people aren't going every single year. They're still really focusing on the family that's going once every 5 years and spending their money in the parks. That is a nice little add-on, but I can see a lot of that stuff going away. And it's a bummer, but if they want, they can put it somewhere else. Put it if they have a hotel that's not occupied, put it over there, right? Get
Yeah,
people to
move
stay
people
over at another place.
around. But I don't really think it's about the gingerbread. Like, I think that this, if you just look back, I think it's a part of a bigger pattern. So look at the things, and so this didn't just start with Josh. Look at the things that
Sure.
Disney has retired over the last couple of years. So, I mean, we lost the Magical Express. I mean, that was a big one, obviously, like Fast Pass. Plus, we lost the Cinderella Castle Dream Lights. And remember when they had the magic bands and
Yeah.
magic hours that were all kind of included? So every one of these things created incredible guest memories, and I'm sure intent to return. But every single one of them came with their own suite of operational challenges that Disney had to deal with. I mean, so maybe they're just out of the headache business?
Yeah, well, what I would say is if you're looking at that list, I would almost say, is the gingerbread house worse than any of these? Taking away Magic Express, I'd say no. Cinderella Castle Dreamlight, I think that's an equal. Like some people, I personally like the Dreamlights in
Oh,
Castle
me
more so.
too.
Fast Pass, absolutely. That was, I'd much rather have Fast Pass back than a gingerbread house. Magic Bands, maybe. I mean, we got so many of them. I think that was but for those who are coming for the first time that have to buy them themselves, I think that's a problem. Evening extra magic hours as they once were, I would absolutely take that back. So in the grand scheme of things, the gingerbread house being taken away as a free item or something that was just like an add-on, it's the least of the worries that we've had over the years. So I guess we can all kind of get our pitchforks and our torches, but at the end of the day, we should probably been a little bit louder about some of these other ones.
Yeah, but we want to hear from you. I mean, is Disney just removing free magic, or has Disney simply reached a point where some traditions have just become too complicated to keep? Let us know your thoughts.
All right, so the Grand Floridian is losing the gingerbread house, but imagine if they decided they were going to remove air conditioning instead. When we get back
Oh.
from this break, another premium Walt Disney World resort had a hellacious week without AC, and people are talking.
Visible puts the ultimate wireless hack in the palm of your hand. With unlimited 5G wireless data and hotspot designed to keep you connected, powered by Verizon's 5G network. And no contract holding you back. Plans start at $25 a month, or get the premium Visible Plus Pro plan and save $10 on your first month when you use promo code HACK. Make the switch at visible.com. Terms apply. See visible.com for details.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Enjoy complimentary access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection and apply to find out your welcome offer, which could be as high as 300,000 membership rewards points. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Welcome offers vary, and you may not be eligible for an offer. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
To kids, summer isn't just time off. It's time spent building confidence and curiosity. But when school meals pause, millions of kids lose access to the food they count on during the school year. As a neighbor-led network, Feeding America is deeply rooted in every community, ensuring summer meals continue nourishing growth and potential. Your support puts healthy food within reach, fueling the future for kids and their families. Give now at feedingamerica.org/summerhunger.
And we're back. So, Lauren, we were talking about one hotel, one deluxe hotel. Let's go to another one. This one is the Wilderness Lodge, which anybody that has been paying attention to this space online has seen the horrors of air conditioning outage during the last couple weeks. The Wilderness Lodge, which is known as a premium deluxe. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. We've stayed there, and I couldn't imagine staying at any hotel in Florida without air conditioning. Do you have any idea like how this worked or how this went down?
Yeah, and you forgot to mention that it was during one of the hottest weeks of the year. So, from what we understand, just looking at the community, the outage lasted multiple days during a heat wave where the heat index was over 100 degrees. Some of the guests reported the feelings where like their rooms were in the 80s and 90s. And Disney did, obviously try to help out, and they brought temporary chillers and cooling equipment and fans. I think I saw somebody said that they were each given 2
Yeah.
fans, and there were people that were being offered to relocate. Some were offered, like, the Coronado or, but I do think it was a really busy week, and they didn't have a lot of available options. So, some guests were also compensated, but the bigger story here, the thing that caught my attention reading all of your comments is that the internet was not debating whether Disney should have been able to fix the air conditioner faster. Like, that is, we all are there. The real debate was whether Disney handled the situation the right way. Some people said that Disney did everything that they could reasonably do in that situation, where other people said, we're paying for deluxe resort prices. They expected better communication and compensation that should have been a part of the experience. So let's go directly to the community. What are people saying?
Well, I went online and we found a whole bunch of different, it was kind of one of those things where the forums were actually keeping everybody updated. Like you said, Disney wasn't really coming out with like a update, like a chart basically saying, hey, this is what's going on. So people in the actual hotels were kind of saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is how, because a lot of people were very concerned because they're like, hey, we got a trip next week. Should we come? Blah, blah, blah. So it was interesting to find that. So we found one Adventure Mommy 29 was just wanted to see if anyone currently at the Wilderness Lodge could confirm the AC situation. We're set to come next week, but we still have to adjust our resort. We can adjust it for a few days. So the forums basically were going through and we found all types of people talking about a little bit of everything. But I thought this was kind of funny. Used Command said, not sure why everyone thinks Disney is supposed to be immune from real world issues. A lot of people were like, how can Disney, how dare Disney have an air conditioning go out?
Oh my
um,
gosh, but like that is very human. And then we had fuzzy goose juice. Oh, I like that one. Weigh in, and it says industrial HVAC is different. The entire system is tied to one massive chiller unit. A failure of that chiller shuts down the entire system. There are no multiple units that can just pick up the slack. Chillers can run from hundreds to thousands into the low millions of dollars. They've had, long lead time. So not something any company would have just sitting around as a spare. They do have these rental chillers on flatbeds that they could use, but it sounds to me like the AC was like working overdrive and that froze out. It's not like they weren't doing maintenance on the building.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some of the questions could come in, like look at reports and see how often they were doing maintenance. If it turns out Disney is kind of cheaping on the maintenance, then there would be lots of problems. But let's just assume that that's
Yeah.
not the case, I would imagine. But yeah, regardless of why it went down, it is a matter of like, all right, even though they're $1 billion company, you can't just fix this immediately. There's not, there is still paperwork that you have to do and all this. So all the unfortunate individuals that were staying there were kind of treated to not a great opportunity. So I was very interested to see like what was the compensation or like what was the make good, because if you were staying there, it wasn't that Disney's like sorry about your luck, like maybe the local motel would say, kind of deal. Disney was being accommodation, telling. So I found a couple, and I was just trying to see what people were doing, but we did find one here, and I was just kind of wondering what they were kind of compensating or offering. One comment here basically said they were giving one night compensation, so at least basically giving you a free night, or they were going to move you to Coronado Springs or Art of Animation, and then they gave them 2 fans for the room. But no offense,
Yeah.
Wilderness Lodge, Coronado Springs, Art of Animation, they are in a different bracket, right? But I
Yeah,
understand that's
definitely
what was
different
available,
bracket.
right?
If they were compensated plus that, but then
Yeah.
Easy Rider Chevy says they were in a studio at Wilderness Lodge with no AC, and then the front desk relocated them to a 2-bedroom club level at the Grand Floridian for
Mm,
no charge. I
look at
will
that.
take that every day of
Yeah.
the week. Sign me up.
So that you got Art of Animation, probably get yourself in a nice, Little Mermaid room,
Well,
or Grand
yeah, right.
Floridian. Little different here. But yeah, it was just interesting that some people were giving the option, but not every hotel there's not enough rooms for everybody. You would take an entire
Yeah.
hotel and try to relocate them. You're obviously not going to be able to get that to fly. But we found one that basically, as a former cast member, concierge level, they're completely screwing up their own policies when it comes to compensation, never mind getting the guest into a safe room. So it sounds to me like there was a whole bunch of not miscommunication, but not a orderly, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. Everybody gets this, everybody does that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just reading all the comments, it seemed very inconsistent, and depending who you were, where you were, what time you went and talked to the front desk. So this last one was Cheddar Chungus, and they said, we're in a 3-bedroom grand villa. They have not offered to move us and only offered a $1,300 credit, and they're using a lot of DVC points to be
Oh,
there.
that's a
So,
lot of
that yeah.
DVC points.
Yeah.
That's the thing is with DVC points, you like for someone like that, you booked it out maybe 7, 11 months out to have that. That
Yes.
is
Yes.
so, oh man, I don't know. This is where my big thing is. All right. So everybody knows it'd be miserable without AC, but, what would you like? What would be fair compensation here? Like, what would you say is, I think the Grand Floridian would obviously be a fair compensation, but like, where's the low end? What resort would you say, hey, this is equivalent? I think any of
Oh,
the deluxe resorts
man.
over there, Riviera would be fine, Boardwalk, Beach Club, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at DVC, any of the other DVC resorts, but I just don't think if you're at the Wilderness Lodge and that's a Magic Kingdom resort, like if you put me at Old Key West, like I'm gonna expect a refund or my points back because you're paying also for location. Like you
Yeah.
could just get on a boat and go to the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fast passes should have been handed out because I think the inconvenience of having to travel, this, that, so forth. So
Yeah,
very
move your
interesting.
luggage after you
Right.
yeah. I mean, like, there's
Well,
so many things to consider, but, I mean, we've actually experienced something similar, not to this degree, but it was our first day at the beach club, and we were there the first day, we got to use the pool, all of that really nice, but when we came back, we were going up to our room, and we saw, like, a big sign in the lobby that said that the hot water was gonna be out for, like, wasn't it 2 days?
yeah, it was gonna be like, yeah, there was a sign, sorry about your inconvenience, the hot water's not gonna be working, and you did not have a good response for that. Where I could have probably tolerated some cold showers. It wouldn't have been great, but we kind of got lucky in this case because you got them to relocate us to the boardwalk, which was
Yeah.
equally
Wait,
for
wait,
us.
wait, wait, though. You're, like, missing the most important, part here, is that this was during COVID, and we had 3 little kids. Like, the number one thing you want to do after you've been in a theme park is take a hot shower. And so I did. I went to the front desk, and they were, like, shocked that I was asking to be moved. But they ended up, I mean, getting a manager and all the things. But they did end up moving us to Boardwalk, which was lovely,
Yeah,
and
I'm a
I
f
feel like
and
that was fair.
I think that was a fair trade-off. Like, we were still on the Epcot, run, and we got to try out 2, different deluxe resorts in one try. So, I mean, I think it's interesting. Um, I wondered myself, if you said, "Hey, you can stay down at the Wilderness Lodge for a couple days. It's gonna be 100 degrees, but you don't have to pay." Would I do it? And would you do it? That's the question. I know you wouldn't. I don't think you would
No, I
suffer
don't even
yourself.
need to answer.
I love Disney enough, and I'm frugal enough that I'm considering. I'm like, all right, what could we do here? But it seemed like, the pools were filled. It wasn't one of those things. And sleeping is the toughest part. That's the whole reason you need air conditioning. Like, most people aren't in their rooms, so throughout the day it's not a big deal. But the whole sleeping at nighttime, I don't even know if I'd be able to fall asleep without AC. But I'd be considering. I want to hear from everybody out there if you would take free rooms at a Disney resort with no AC at 100 degrees.
Yeah, no, I think that, we all know where, we stand. But the fun continued. So Eric found this thread that was the worst Disney hotel experience thread. You get the gist?
Yeah.
So there were some that they really did the right thing, and some were a little questionable. So the first one on this list was Coronado Springs plumbing issues. The guest described overflowing sink and toilets, and they said Disney's recovery was strong. They offered dry cleaning, clothing vouchers to move rooms, and even free future nights. So good on you for that one.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there were a couple other ones. I was actually surprised. So this thread came from, I think, the WDW Magic page, and it was from 2018. But like, when you typed in worst Disney World hotel experiences, you would assume Google would find a ton of content, right? You would just think it would be a ton because so many people are staying there. There has to be that bad experiences and so forth. But I would find some, and they're like, yeah, that's not good. A lot of it was just like staying at the All Stars with cheer competitions, like that was, and I'm like, well, you can't control that. That's not
No.
Disney's fault. I was surprised. I do think what we're dealing with right now at the Wilderness Lodge is the worst that I've seen out of the entire thread. And I'm talking,
Agree.
this is what's been documented online for years. If this is the only forum, it was really funny that on this forum, it was maybe, a month or two after it started, and one person said, so if I'm the P&R management on the resort side, I'm high-fiving staff right now, reading through this thread and only finding less than 2 pages of complaints about the resorts, which means it's not common. Disney does not
No, no,
have
no,
a
no.
ton of comments because you would know that people would go out there and complain like crazy online. And I wasn't even finding good enough stories to read and laugh about here on air. Like I said, I saw a couple plumbing issues. There was a couple rooms that were dirty. I did find an article from the Disney food blog that had like 5 nightmare hotel stays, and honestly, they were kind of taken from this forum, and they weren't that bad. None of
But
them
what
looked.
about the bug issue? I feel like that's bad.
I don't. What the guest said, the
And
lower floors had a bug problem. Like it could have been ants. Like it was not like it was roaches.
yeah, and they left
Yeah,
bug spray. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's kind of bad. Like,
yeah. Okay. Like seeing a couple bugs or staying in 100-degree heat for a week
okay,
without
okay.
explanation.
Yes, Wilderness Lodge wins. Like in a heat wave, AC is,
In a
I mean,
deluxe resort, it's not like
in
you're
a
staying at the All
I
Stars or
don't care if
something.
I'm staying at the All-Stars. I really don't. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like AC is a necessity. And,
Right.
like, thinking about when we were gonna book Paris, and didn't they have 2 resorts that did not have AC? They said
That was the
the
rumors,
AC
right?
is, like, an American thing.
Yeah, yeah. I talked to our employee Jenny, who's over there, and she's like, "Yeah, there's not a lot of places that have AC. It's just like that's not a thing." And yeah, I don't know. And that's enough to deter because I was looking at I think it was the Santa Fe or whatever. I was like, "Oh, we could stay here. That
Yeah.
seems nice," and blah blah blah. And I sold myself on it. And then you were like, "Hey, check to see if they have AC." And I'm like, "Dude, if they don't have AC, we're not staying there." So I couldn't imagine. But I do think we might be dealing with the worst possible minus disaster, right? Obviously
Yeah,
those poor
yeah,
souls that have been
obviously.
there for like a hurricane and stuff like that. But minus the disaster, we might be looking at the worst hotel stay ever. And there could be forums upon forums about how bad this was for those who were at the Grand Floridian. So I'm just interested to see how people were compensated, and how people were made good, to see if they were
Yeah.
moved around. How bad was it? I think it's all under control by the time this comes out on air. I think it's okay. But I do think that people are very hesitant to see, like with the Wilderness Lodge, is the air conditioner 100% up to date? Like, are some rooms working, some
Yeah.
other? Like, how cool can we get it? Can we turn it to 61, like Lauren would like, in the room?
That's true. But I mean, I think that the bigger story here is really that, I think people by nature are understanding that things happen, and it's like they don't even remember the thing that happened. They remember the response to the situation. And so it sounds like this one was, hot and cold for people, which
Hmm.
is very, very surprising. I bet you, though, that these people that it has been made right. So if we're wrong, please let us know. We definitely want to see, but like Eric said, just scouring the internet. I mean, like Disney does have it together from a resort perspective. So, keep up the good work on that end.
Yeah, just invest in a couple more $1 million air conditionings that you just have sitting backstage. That'll help you in the long run. So.
Yes. But anyways, that does it for this week's episode of Diz and Hers. For more, make sure you're hitting up disandhers.com. There you'll find articles, episodes, and updates. And if Disney is your vibe, make sure to subscribe.
All right. And remember, watch what you post online. You might end up in next week's episode. Thanks for listening.